Shalom, my name is Yeshua Yaakov Ben Avraham, and I'm making this video from Jerusalem. I'm a didactic scientist, the author of the trilogy Humanomics, and its central organizing principle, Receive to Give, which is the new cognitive behavioral science first principle, and the new economic paradigm, the integration of labor. This video is part 2 of 7 years of recession. That's what I said, that's what I mean. It's not a punishment. It is the paradigm shift of 200 years, the end of the Industrial Revolution. And the prescription of wealth creation now, today, what creates wealth is a prescription in economics. And it's a first principle, and it is now the integration of labor. In classical terms, identifies information as the agent of transformation, and it provides a specific model that is developed, implemented, and acculturated by mandates of national governments as global technological infrastructure, and a great deal of complexity follows. It will be 7 to 8 years to make the transition of this paradigm shift. We had 8 years of plenty with George Bush, and we are now moving toward 8 years of very lean, 8 years of recession. And what it really is it's 8 years of transition. And we pray that Obama, who comes to office with a lot of soft power that will be exhausted before he's even sworn in, that he rapidly and quickly acquires the hard power. And by this I mean the underlying science and technology develop, implement, and acculturate the new economic paradigm as world-class global technological infrastructure for America and all Americans. That's what is the answer. Now, a couple of things that I want to speak about. There is a sequence that began with 9/11. The meta-narrative of 9/11 expresses a grammar that there are a lot of things that were foretold by this, the meta-narrative. There's the official narrative. We know the planes were kidnapped and crashed and so on, and a lot of people died. We know the official narrative. The meta-narrative says that there would be a lot of events, and that meta-narrative turns out to confirm and be confirmed in the collapse of the East-West systems, communism in the former Soviet Union and in Yugoslavia, I might add, and around the world. And 4 or 5 other countries collapsed. The collapse of capitalism with Wall Street disappearing overnight. And then there is the collapse of the 2 major monotheistic religions, which are not collapsing, but they are in fact imploding. And I'm referring specifically to Christianity and the Muslim faith, because of the extremes of terrorism globally, which gives it a bad name. It's quite unfair. Okay, having said that, there are entire economies, there are entire industries, enterprises, twin towers, buildings, communities collapsing, families collapsing, individuals, powerful, potentate leaders, very wealthy people. So what connects all of these? Okay, the collapse of the local reality globally began 18 years ago. Nobody noticed it, nobody understands it. Okay, so let's put in perspective. The year of 2009 is the year that America and the world wakes up. We connect the dots and we recognize and accept the formidable paradigm shift of the transformation of man and mankind that is also driving the transformation of man's methods of organizing his economy. So we're going to have 7 years, 7 very lean years. The fat years are over. One guy made $3.7 billion. Paulson is his name, running a hedge fund, shorting CDS's credit default swaps that were garbage, that were put into the, a year earlier. They were producing these and selling these, and then he's shorting them, making $3.7 billion. Something's wrong, folks, everywhere. Wall Street, Washington. Okay, we know this. Okay, so we're going to connect the dots. The long wave is that here is this. Let's put a context to it. Here is this guy Bernie Madoff, and he brings this Ponzi scam. Well, there's Hitchens, who says there's no God. That's an intellectual Ponzi scam. And then there is Alan Greenspan in Washington, the former illustrious Chairman of the Federal Reserve, and Bernanke, and Paulson and his TARPs. There's a lot of Ponzi scams out there. Let's be specific. One example, the new economic paradigm was brought to Alan Greenspan when he was an economist on Wall Street. What did he do? He said, it's ridiculous, it's irrelevant, it's not important, and he threw the author out. Well, a couple of days ago, he testified before Congress, and he said, this is a phenomenon. He said that's happening. He said it only happens once every 100 years. Hey, I got news for you, Alan. Alan Greenspan, who? You're wrong again. You only missed this time by 100 years. It's actually long wave. The Industrial Revolution. Let's give it a date. Around 1776 it began, so 200 years later. Okay, so he's wrong. And then there was some other guy who won a Nobel Prize, and he's the biggest textbook seller of economics. I think his name is Paul Samuelson. He was asked to meet with me, and we did, and he attacked and libeled me. And what do we get? We got an angry little boy who was jealous and fearful that the textbook royalties would decline. We got a lot of Ponzi scammers out there, folks, and Bernanke made some horrific, unbelievably stupid statements. TARP, this clown running around, Henry Paulson, he's well-intended. Goldman Sachs, former chief executive. Hey, anybody on Wall Street that can help, any bank, I can give you some TARPy, because we gotta unfreeze the credit, Wow. Dead on arrival. Okay, folks, $7 trillion later, you can't fix and you can't repair. So really, let's put this all in perspective. I'm going to wrap up and sign off a little bit. The bottom line is really very simple. You can't fix what has to be transformed. Barack Obama was elected on soft power, very popular, as was Bush. Well, the difference, Bush's soft power, they got him elected. His father immediately plugged in the new president of the United States, Dick Cheney. President Dick Cheney was a disaster. Well, there's the hard power. Bush's administration in the 8 years of Bush, it wasn't Bush at all, it was Cheney running the White House. Cheney was the executive. He was the hard power that governed. Okay, Barack Obama desperately needs that soft power that's going to be, before he's even sworn in, it will be very short shelf life in Washington, soft power. It will be exhausted. And then the name of the game is hard power. And what he needs, the hard power that he needs specifically, is the genuine, original, authentic, unique science and technology of the new economic paradigm with which to lead America and the G20 and the world to transform the structure of the economy in America and the G20 and around the world. And that's the integration of labor. I'm its author. Now, that's where we are, folks, and that's not on the radar yet in Washington. So after $7 trillion, and what is he doing? He thinks that Obama thinks that he's going to 40 economic advisors. He's got a lot of hard power now, he thinks. He hasn't got anything. He's got an empty bucket with holes in the bottom. There isn't one of them that has a clue about the long wave paradigm shift, 200 years, and the new prescription. And I've tried to, can't wake them up, folks. When they're convinced, and they're going to go off with demand stimulus and 700. We had 700 billion for the TARP approved. Another 700 billion or 800 billion later for demand stimulus is not going to do it. It's dead on the rise. It's going to work, and so we got to get everybody on the right page. We got to see the big picture. And we got to see where we're going. The new economic paradigm is going to take America in the next 2 decades to 45 to 50 trillion. It's now 14 trillion GDP. Therefore, how and why this is so is the hard and the science and technology, the hard power that Obama needs. I'm Yoshua Yaakov, the author of the trilogy, Humanomics. I thank you for listening. And it's New Economic Paradigm, the Integration of Labor, whose new agent of transformation is information. Thank you for listening. I'm Yoshua Yaakov from Jerusalem.